Hello and welcome to The Wrap thanks to Coates. I'm Laura Spurway. I'm here with Kate McCarthy. And Kate, we've had a little bit of movement in the top 8 this round, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. If we have a look at the results from the round so far, obviously Freo pretty dominant in their victory over Essendon. GWS got the massive upset over the Swans. Poor old Richmond are still winless and Adelaide survived a huge scare, but those changes. So the Crows have jumped into the top 4. Sydney and Carlton are out of the top 4, but only on percentage, Laura. The Lions and Geelong also into the top 8, and West Coast and Essendon make way for them again on percentage. So the top 8 starting to take a little bit of shape, but there was some changes over the weekend.
And that's what we like to see. We want to mix it up at this point in the season. Well, let's start with the Gold Coast and Adelaide because, geez, this was a gripping contest. And it was the Crows that ran over the Suns in the fourth quarter to win by 16.
Yeah, they kicked 6 goals in the final term. They were down 28-13 at three-quarter time. And then 5 of the last 6 goals in this final term came from turnover. They turned up the heat. They got to work around the contest, which they hadn't done most of the match. Ebony Marinoff had 14 disposals and a goal in the fourth quarter alone. And Anne Hatchard, she kicked 3 goals in the fourth term. Sarah Goodwin, 4 clearances as well. So the Crows, they got it done. They only turned up for 1 quarter, if you really want to be honest, Laura, but they're good enough of a team to only play 1 quarter, but still get the job done. Let's have a look, though, at some of the numbers that changed the game for the Crows in the fourth term, if we have a look. So the Suns were controlling the footy early, 12 disposals in the first 1 to 3 quarters, plus 12 disposals. Then the Crows got their hands on the footy. It was the clearance work. The Suns were dominating in Qs 1 to 3 in that area, but then the Crows' clearance game really stood up, and then the Suns, their uncontested marking game was really impressive in the first 3 quarters of the match, but the Crows flipped the script there, and you can see the results on the scoreboard. 4 goals fall to 1 goal 7, flips around to 1 goal straight to 6 goals 1. So they had to flex their muscles, but they did get it done.
Now, speaking of the goals, this person is a highlights machine just 6 games into her AFLW career, Havana Harris.
Well, you thought the biggest highlight on the field might have been the Gold Coast Suns jerseys, which look absolutely fantastic. But no. Havana Harris just had the one arm, dropped it onto the boot from a very, very tight angle, kicks it around the corner. And didn't she love it? As she should too. A very good performance from her. Charlie Rowbottom as well was really tidy for the Suns. She had the 30 disposals, 12 tackles, 411 metres gained, 7 clearances and a goal as well. So plenty of positives to take out of it for the Suns, but they'd be really disappointed to not get away with the win after doing it all really well for the first 3 quarters, but couldn't go with the Crows in the fourth term.
Yeah, got so close. Well, let's head to Moorabbin where you spent the afternoon. And the Tigers, they've been denied another win. They're bottom of the comp. But look, this is the game and some of the goals that we are looking at today for Educate.
So I just want to speak of the importance when it comes to taking your moments, especially in close games. We know a lot of AFLW games come right down to the wire. And I just want to look at the difference in St Kilda's taking their moments late in the game compared to a what-if really from Richmond. So we'll have a look here at Ash Richards. So has this really hard shot from the boundary, but knows the ground so well. The wind's pushing to that direction. So if you sit it just at the face of goal, the wind as a right foot is going to really help you out. Then we go straight back down the other end and we've got Katie Brennan and Paige Scott colliding with each other, competing for the same ball there in the air. The Saints turn it over, a 1-on-1 win to St Kilda. Get the ball out in front of Hannah Stewart here. Another win, gets it forward to Jessie Wardlaw, who at times had 2 and 3 against 1 in the game this afternoon. But took some individual brilliance from her, shakes off Seymour, opens up the face of goal and kicks it through. So that is a 12-point turnaround. Purely because St Kilda just owned their moments in that entire passage of play. They knew the ground well, obviously having the home ground advantage. But if you go back to that collision with Katie Brennan and Paige Scott, one of them could have taken that mark and protected the other and had a shot on goal at a vital time. Instead, they collide, go down the other end and St Kilda get the 6 points.
Now, this one was close. And look, if you're Richmond and you're still winless, you're wondering where this win is going to come from because looking at their next month of footy, it's a tough run.
It is, and I think we sat here last week and spoke about the decision to re-sign Ryan Ferguson, and they've lost this game again, so 0-6, and you look at their next 4 matches, Brisbane, Adelaide, North and Collingwood, who are on the rise. We could be sitting here in 4 weeks' time and say that they are 0-10. And they decided to re-sign their coach at that time of the season. So I'm not saying Ryan Ferguson isn't the right person for the job, not at all. I think he's clearly got the backing of the group. He's clearly got the backing of the club. still just really bizarre timing for me at that time of the year to re-sign him. And it is going to be a really tough month for Richmond. They've put some really good performances together this afternoon. They had their opportunities but couldn't take them. And it's sort of been a case of that in most of their games this season.
Yep. But if there is a bright spark for Richmond, and we do want to pick one out, it is Mackenzie Ford, and she is one of our new kids on the block.
Sometimes playing the small forward role can be really difficult, especially when you're early on in your career. But the thing that you can start to really impact games is on the tackling. So she had 8 tackles last week, 6 tackles this week, 11 disposals, and a beautiful goal on the run. I love what I'm seeing from Mackenzie Ford. Then we're going to go to Poppy Scholes. So we've seen how good she is down back. Well, Matthew Buck flipped her magnet. She played up forward, some really good forward pressure, some really good marks inside forward 50, and then later in the game, threw her back behind the footy. So that's the kind of versatility we love to see from new players. And Lily Rose Williamson for the Pies was not even on the list at the start of the AFLW preseason, played the entire season for the VFLW side at the Pies. Gets a late signing due to an injury replacement, and she was really, really damaging in this game at Vic Park. She had the 17 disposals, 13 of those contested, and 5 clearances. She is someone to well and truly keep an eye on through the midfield of Collingwood.
Something that we have kept an eye on today is what unfolded at Henson Park. In the derby, what a boilover. GWS getting the job done over the Swans by 7 points.
A huge crowd too. Massive shout out to the Swans and the Giants who promoted this game. They got a record crowd, 7,171 people, and the hill was absolutely packed. But Sydney, you look at this game and they largely won most of the important stats that you put down as really KPIs for the game. So they won clearance, they won tackles, they won contested possession, but the Giants got them on the outside. They won uncontested possessions by 34. They won marks plus 15 and uncontested marks plus 16. So they were able to get them on the spread. They were able to stop their run off half back and finish beautifully in front of goal. So credit to the Giants. I mean, back-to-back wins now for the first time since round 7, 2021. That is an incredible performance for them. And the Battle of the Bridge is something that they love. GWS and the Swans, they love having bragging rights over the other. And didn't they enjoy that victory? And all credit has to go to the Giants.
Yep. And if you take it back a couple of years, well, Scott Gowans, he had something to say about the Giants. And look, it's on the record, unfortunately. And today, the GWS social media team, well, they were having none of it.
Performing side out of the inaugural clubs, so they've got a bit of work to do with that, and that's fine, and we think we'll get there quicker than them.
Well, I tell you what, if there is one club you're going to have a crack at, you better play the long game, because GWS keep receipts.
They do.
We know as a team for their social media work, we love what they do. So they kept those receipts and they came back to bite the Sydney Swans a little bit.
Yep, and we are the beneficiary of that. I love seeing all the memes. But look, if there was a standout performer for GWS, we're going to give her a moment, and she is our Coates Player of the Round.
Had to go to none other than Zali Goldsworthy this week. The rising star from 2023, playing a new role through the midfield this year, and she's been nothing but impressive, but everything came together for her this afternoon. 31 disposals, 5 score involvements, 9 tackles as well, and a goal. So nothing but praise from her coach, Cam Bernasconi, in the post-match. He identified that she's always been flashy with her goals and her ability to finish off, but he feels like she is a complete midfielder now, bases her game off the pressure, and he said it's so nice to have a coach to coach a player, with such high-end talent that values defence. So massive raps from her coach there, and she deserves all the plaudits because she was absolutely pivotal to that win this afternoon.
Yep, she was. And look, Sydney's another team where you look at the fixture and you look at the month ahead and you see the challenges and, geez, they might not keep the win-loss record they have.
Well, after last week, I thought they'd come out with quite a vengeance, and they were competitive. Obviously, as we said, they won a number of facets in the game, but couldn't ultimately get the job done. But that's going to be, a tough month ahead. But if you want to play finals and if you want to match it with the big teams in the competition, these are the games you want.
Yep.
You want to be able to take on Adelaide at home, at their home ground, and North Melbourne as well, and you want to be able to match it with them. So I have no doubt that Scott Gowans is looking at that and thinking this is a great challenge because we've just slipped out of the top 4, yes, on percentage. They're still in the top 8. Those teams there that we just saw, most of them they're going to have to play in finals if they want to win. So what better time to get that practice under pressure than the next 4 weeks of the season?
Yep, and one of those sides they're going to have to contend with is Melbourne, and Eden Zanker as well, who had 5 goals in a half today against West Coast.
It was the Eden Zanker legacy game, wasn't it? 12 disposals, 9 marks, 5 of those contested, 10 score involvements and 5 goals, 3. She was everywhere. She had the flashy boots on. She had a performance to absolutely match it, and some beautiful goal kicking in testing conditions as well from Eden Zanker. But you're right, Melbourne just continue to go strength to strength. They got the jump on the West Coast Eagles, so taught them a little bit of a lesson, as Daisy Pearce referenced in her post-match presser, that you can't not turn up in the first half against teams like Melbourne. She was happy with the way they fought back in the fourth term, or the second half essentially, but 7 goals 7 to 0 goals 3 at half time. You can't compete with the best teams when you're a developing team like that, when you come out sort of only to play the second half.
Yep, and I'd say I'm looking forward to seeing Melbourne play North Melbourne, but they don't get to in the home and away.
It is disappointing. So you feel like they are probably, they're second on the ladder and they're the second seed in this competition without doubt. Some of their winning margins, their percentage is 243%, sitting in a really healthy spot. But you're right, it's extremely disappointing that we won't see that matchup in the home and away season. Obviously, you can't predict where these teams are going to be, but with 12 home and away rounds, they're not going to play everyone, and it is quite flattening that those two teams won't meet in this home and away season, because it would be a fantastic preview of what we might see come the grand final.
Well, to Whitten Oval now, and I think we expected the Lions to win this one, but what it's done for them is lift them back into the 8, so it is important.
It's very important, and their stars got going in this game. Ali Anderson, 26 disposals, 4 inside 50s. Belle Dawes, 16 disposals and 7 tackles to go with it. They won. They really controlled the game through uncontested possession, plus 57 on that count. They controlled it through the air as well. They were plus 43 in marks. A team like the Lions, who love to run and gun, love to get the ball on the outside or win it from the inside and go to the outside, you can't allow them 43 more marks in a game, and that's ultimately where they won and lost the game.
And great pressure from Courtney Hodder, a game-high 11 tackles.
Love that we're seeing Courtney Hodder come up to stoppage more, play as a midfielder, and continued what we started to see last week in that game. She had the 19 disposals, 11 tackles, just ferocious tackling from her, 10 contested possession and 5 score involvements. So as she continues to play this role, she'll start to then hit the scoreboard as well, because she's getting right up high and then racing back towards goal to get front and centre. So love what Craig Starcevich is doing with Courtney Hodder this season, because her ball use going inside forward 50, as we just saw with that link up to Kathy Spark, is something that you want, kicking it into your forwards.
And just finally with this one, not great news for Charlotte Mullins, subbed off with concussion, and this might get a look at by the match review.
This will definitely get a look at with the match review. Dom Carruthers just came in. At first look, I wasn't sure what was contacted, but it was the shoulder into Mullins, and we know with a concussion, obviously a big outcome or a big impact on the decision is the outcome. So it'll be pretty high, either severe or high contact. It'll be high. So I think she's probably looking at a couple of weeks on the sideline with the MRO looking at that.
And if we're looking at tackle statistics for this round, well, Kiara Bowers, what a star. She notched up 21 in Freo's win over Essendon.
Yeah, she did. She was really good in and under at the contest. 21 tackles, second to only Kiara Bowers
Herself,
who has 22 tackles as the record. Almost got the last tackle of the game, but was adjudicated a free kick against, and just so good in and under in the clinches. And ultimately Fremantle got this done very easily. 48-point victors over an Essendon side who's struggling to hit the scoreboard now. So yeah, Kiara Bowers, take your hats off to her. She's been a tackling machine her entire AFLW career and just continues to get stronger and stronger in at the contest.
So Ash McCarthy, we've spoken about her on this program before. I know you're a huge fan. Once again showed how versatile she is.
Yeah, let's have a look at a couple of these goals that she kicked on the weekend. And first of all, how clean she is, just drops out of contest, gets the footy, throws this one on her left from a tough angle, goes through, beautiful finish. And then we'll have a look at one that wasn't far after, throws it on the right, looks just as natural, carries all the way through for another goal, got a couple of majors. But the thing that got the most cheers that we saw Ash McCarthy do on the weekend against Essendon was this moment here, and her skipper, Emma O'Driscoll, absolutely loved it. So on first look, have a look, yep, nice little kick there. Have a look at Emma O'Driscoll though in the bottom of the frame. How's that? That's what you
Arms
want
in
from
the
your
air.
captain. A double cobra because you've hit up a lead. We love that from Emma O'Driscoll, the ultimate hype girl. Might have to employ her and start getting her to stand in the corner of the studio, and every time I roll out a stat, she might give me a double cobra.
Mate, she'll be doing that all show. So many stats from you. Now, North and Carlton. This is a game I was waiting for, actually, because the Blues have been on the rise, but it was a pretty comprehensive win by North again, led by Ash Riddell again,
Riddell.
and Emma Carney off halfback.
Yes, Ash Riddell, the 44 disposal, so now has the record. Got it on countback as well, which took a little bit away from the fact that it was a record. We thought at the end of the game she had the 43, but she has eclipsed her own record and has the 44, which is the AFLW record. And there's a lot talked about with North. They're winning so many matches, well, every match by such big margins. They're undefeated for a string of, I think, 19 or 20 matches now, which is just insane. So I wanted to dig a little bit deeper and have a look at how, in fact, they're scoring their goals. And when we look at the scoring chart, so the goals from 0 to 30 is sort of inside 30s of what we really look at when we look at the AFLW. 48 of their 69 goals that they have kicked this season have been from 0 to 30 metres out. Then you dig a little bit deeper, 55 of the 69 have come from the corridor. So that green section there, a huge percentage of their goals have come from that. And that's largely from the ball movement that you get up the ground. So the likes of the run-off halfback, yes, Ash Riddell getting the ball from inside to out, Jazz Garner, her beautiful ball use, Jenna Bruton, but a player I do want to highlight and have a little look at her game from the weekend was Emma Carney. And she's just year in, year out been this pivotal role for them off halfback. They got Ailish Sheeran across to play that as well, but she's been doing a great job. But Emma Carney, just her ability, steps away from the captaincy, but still a huge leader at the North Melbourne Football Club. And just look at where she kicks these balls, takes the bounce, breaks the line, and then delivers it deep inside forward 50. And it's the overlap run like that, and like we're seeing from these highlights of Emma Carney, as to why they're getting such deep entries, their ability to kick the goals from 0 to 30 out and from the corridor, as we see with that entry just there to finish off. That's why they are so hard to stop.
They are almost impossible to stop. Well, let's get to Port Adelaide and Geelong. And look, this was a 5-point win to Geelong, but an umpiring call has soured the end result for me.
Yeah, it has. It was something that's probably going to be the talk of the game, but it shouldn't have been, because this was absolutely not a deliberate rush behind in every sense of it. I would love to see, as we watch this replay, not even trying to rush that. Her hand is coming forward to try and actually keep that ball in. So absolutely not a free kick. I don't think you can ultimately say, yes, they win by 5 points, the Cats, but there's plenty of decisions made by plenty of players, plenty of mistakes made throughout the game. You can't put it down to that is the reason they lost. And I know that sounds ridiculous considering a goal's worth 6 points, but plenty of mistakes made by players around the ground, as well as clearly an umpiring error in that account. But I would really like, we see statements made from the AFL on decisions that have cost men's teams games.
All the time.
I would really like there to be probably a statement made to say we probably got that wrong, because it was clearly an incorrect decision for mine.
To clear it up. Well, you know who doesn't make mistakes? Kate McCarthy, when she throws predictions out there, and you nailed this one when Geelong was 0-3.
Now, you're not too nervous about Geelong, even though they're 0-3. Let's look at the next little batch of games.
Yeah, I feel like in 3 weeks' time, we could be sitting here and saying, okay, they were 0-3. Many people were panicked. They were worried about their chances. And I feel like we could be sitting here in 3 weeks' time and say, okay, their season's back on track. They're 3-3 and they're taking on Hawthorn next week. Well, I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I did say we'd be sitting here and saying that they are 3-3, and that's exactly what they are.
That's where they are.
We don't need to panic in this industry.
We
Just
don't.
calm down. People can
But we do.
even up the playing field at some point. No, Geelong into the top 8 now and looking good. Got their game going. I'm so excited for the game on Thursday night at GMHBA. Hawthorn and Geelong going to be an absolute blockbuster.
Couple of costly injuries to the Cats, though. Kilpatrick with concussion and Crockett Gills with a hamstring.
Yeah, and if we have a look, I think this is another one that the MRO will look at. Obviously, a concussion made. I don't really think it was anything too unreasonable, though, from Ebony O'Day. She didn't make high contact. It was a genuine tackle. It was her head hitting the ground, but there was no slinging action. It was just a really hard tackle.
Yep,
and
it's a crunch.
for me, I don't think Ebony O'Day should be suspended for that. I know that there's an outcome element to it, and Kilpatrick was concussed, but I don't think she's really done a whole lot wrong in that scenario, rather than lay a bruising tackle, but didn't really do anything to put her in a vulnerable position.
And then we know they're looking at the outcome of these things, so it probably will get a watch from the MRO. Well, Collingwood Hawks, for me, was the other game that I had my eye on, and it was the Hawks who prevailed, their 5th win of the season, but what a final quarter from both sides.
Huge final quarter. So inaccuracy had cost Collingwood 0-9, so 9 behind straight to start the game, but they kicked a couple of goals in a flurry. Ash Centra, her best performance of the year, 23 disposals. But have a look at this. The handball from Emily Bates out there to Jess Vukic. The cleanliness on that. Have a look as we slow it down. One grab and handballs out. That is elite skills from Emily Bates, and ultimately that was the steadier. Vukic scores that. They win by 9 points, and the Hawks just had the answers in the end. They defended well. Collingwood, though, they're the team on the rise for me. I know the wins and loss columns, they've only got the 2 to show for it, but they are going to make the teams run home very hard, and I think they are still a chance to jump into the 8 in this game, in this season, sorry.
That would be a massive leap from last year, and we love to see it if it does happen. Now, we did say that the Hawks are a better side with Aileen Gilroy in it. She's back in it. What did you make of her performance?
I loved her performance, and I was so ready for Aileen Gilroy to come back into this team. Have a look at the metres gained. That is what we've been talking about that has been missing from this Hawthorn team. And the other player that I love from this Hawthorn team is Anya McDonough, who just had that shot there. But Aileen Gilroy, 14 disposals, 8 score involvements, 317 metres gained and a couple of clearances. Just her ability to just get the ball and clear congestion. That ultimately was the difference in this game. And their inability to kind of replace her, because it's hard to find a player like Aileen Gilroy, All-Australian last year, had been costly for them. And Anya McDonough, on the other hand, 15 disposals, kicks another 2 goals, 3, has kicked 8 goals for the year. She is someone that if I was building a forward line, she would be one of the first picked for me, because her versatility to take marks, she took another 6 marks in that game, but also to beat teams out the back, to get up to pressure. She is someone that you want in your forward line.
Yep, coaches, pay attention. Well, that is the wrap. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the week of footy.